Following Raised on Radio, Journey went on a bit of a hiatus. The band was taking a break for about 9 years, and they finally came back together in the 90s. They recorded in 95 and 96 what would be Steve Perry's final album with Journey, Trial by Fire. Let's get into this absolutely phenomenal, layered, complex album from the band. Welcome back to Pixel Positive Music, where we are on part 10 of our 14-part series exploring the history of the band Journey, one album at a time. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss out on any of the awesome content. We are going to wrap up this series this week, and then we're going to have a review on Friday, July 8th, of Journey's new album, Freedom. And then we will be covering all kinds of other bands as well. So you definitely don't want to miss out. I'm trying really hard to build an awesome community of music lovers where we can just come together and talk about music and have fun doing it. So with that, let's get into it. Trial by Fire it's, in my opinion, is the most compelling and most complex Journey album. It is easy to overlook it in the grand scheme of things, but overlooking this album would be a phenomenal mistake. I mean, really, it would be a huge mistake. Trial by Fire is just simply incredible. Disclaimer, it is my favorite Journey album, but it is the final album to feature Steve Perry in the band, and it brought together the classic Escape lineup. I mean, we've got Steve Perry back on vocals, we've got Neil Schon on guitar, we've got Ross Valerie on bass, Steve Smith on drums, and then Jonathan Cain on keyboards. And they are firing on all cylinders here. They are showing the absolute best of their musicianship. Steve Perry's vocals, while his vocals have aged, they aren't quite as pristine as they were perhaps on the Escape album or Frontiers. I think that his vocals are better. There's more character here. There's a certain, I think, world weariness from the whole band here in this album, and it creates an incredible experience. This is a very long album, but with many tracks, but 14 tracks. But it is just phenomenal. It's a very different sound from the band. Not just that the album itself sounds different, but they actually try so many different things on this album. We get a huge variety on the music here. So the album opens with Message of Love, which is a 5-minute stomping rock track that I think represents the very best of the band's cumulative abilities to this point. We have strong vocals, a catchy chorus, killer pianos and synths. This is a very piano-led track in a lot of ways, a powerful guitar solo, and melodic guitars. Neil's guitar playing is so layered and intense in this song, and the breakdown at the end is just some of the best drumming we have from Steve Smith. I mean, the band is just top-notch on Message of Love. It, in some ways, kind of reminds me of Separate Ways, the way the keyboards are used, just kind of the structure of the song and the themes of the song. But Message of Love is an underrated gem. I mean, it was released as a single. It didn't really do much. It's a shame the band does not play this song live, like, at all anymore. They played it a little bit after Trial by Fire with Steve Algieri, but I don't know that they've ever played it with Arnell. And it's a shame because it's a killer track. They need to play Message of Love because it's so good. I understand it's probably very hard to perform, but it's just an incredible song. An absolute killer album opener. One of my favorite Journey songs. The major hit from the album was the symphonic ballad, When You Love a Woman. And this was actually, in a lot of ways, Journey's last hit. This was, I believe it hit number 3 on the charts, and it was Grammy nominated. So it did very well. It was a very well-known song. It's not actually really a live staple, though. They don't play it live very often. They have performed it live with Arnell a few times, including on the Live in Manila DVD, which is absolutely phenomenal. Definitely recommend looking up that concert and that performance of this track. This is a very beautiful piano-led and symphonic-led ballad. It's, it has all the traits of a strong Journey ballad. Beautiful, endearing lyrics, wonderful piano runs, and of course, an amazing guitar solo from Neil. I mean, what more do you want from a Journey ballad? It just works so well. It was the biggest track from this album and the most memorable for a lot of people. But other singles were, When You Love a Woman was the first single, and then we had Message of Love. If He Should Break Your Heart, which is just a more, I wouldn't really call it, it's a ballad in a way, I guess, but I would consider it to be more of just a slower pop rock track. It's the fourth track on the album, and it follows When You Love a Woman. If He Should Break Your Heart is just a great track about heartbreak and wanting the best for someone so that you used to love. And I think that it's a great track. Definitely a good choice for a single, but again, it didn't really do much in the charts. And then the final single was the more harder rocking track, Can't Tame the Lion, which is a pretty good track as well. This album is so mature compared to previous Journey music. It's by far their most mature album in terms of just the lyrical content and the themes involved here. I mean, I'm not saying that, saying this is mature does not mean the other music is childish or anything like that. It's just, this album feels so serious. It's just the content of the lyrics and the themes. I mean, there's a lot of spirituality going on here. One More feels like a spiritual track. Trial by Fire is definitely a spiritual track. And I mean, the name itself comes from a biblical verse. Colors of the Spirit feels very spiritual, very tribal as well. The album has themes kind of related to loss. Easy to Fall, When I Think of You, Forever in Blue. These tracks they're not like depressing tracks or anything, but they definitely feel like they're dealing with loss and reminiscing on better times. And all these songs feel very, very serious. Like I said earlier, this album is so complex and layered, and the sounds that they use, they really try some different things with Trial by Fire. Message of Love, One More, Castles Burning, and Can't Tame the Lion are like the heavy rocker tracks on this album. We get, they're very big, they're very loud, they're bombastic. Not as much with Can't Tame the Lion, but definitely One More and Castles Burning are definitely the heavy rock tracks on this album. When You Love a Woman, like I said before, is a symphonic ballad. If You Should Break Your Heart and Forever in Blue are slower, like pop rock tracks. Still She Cries is a ballad that uses a lot of acoustic guitar that has a Spanish flair. It has a very Spanish guitar sound to it. When I Think of You is probably what I would call the traditional, just typical Journey ballad, almost like an Open Arms. It's not as effective as an Open Arms or a Faithfully, but it's in that same vein. And like Colors of the Spirit is very mystical. It's a mystical sounding track. And then It's Just the Rain, the second to last track, actually involves the use of a thunderstorm in the sounds. So I mean, you get a very large variety in the music here. Journey's, I mean, they've done albums with variety in sound, of course, but most of their music is very arena-oriented rock, AOR. It's very, it's the big songs like Girl Can't Help It and Separate Ways and things like that. And they're pretty straightforward, alternating between like a rock track, a ballad, things like that. This album takes it in a lot of very, very creative and curious directions. The band they feel grown up here. They feel older. They feel more world weary. They feel just very, very creative. And the album feels so cohesive as well. Well, like I said, there are a lot of slower tracks. Maybe a few too many ballads for people. But I think that this album just flows very, very, very well. A lot of tracks just flow right into the next track, and if you listen to it straight through, it just works so well. The lyrics are very, very powerful, and they carry a lot of meaning, and they're very, I think, creative for Journey. An example from Easy to Fall. You say you believe in love, and still you run. You only believe in God when you come undone. So here you are, you brought everything on yourself. So easy to fall when you're all alone by yourself. And I mean, when I just read it like that without singing it, it just comes off the tongue like poetry. And I mean, from One More, which is one of those heavier rock tracks, in the glory of an innocent age, a king is born to a house filled with rage. One man's fear is another man's truth. One fear, the blind suffer at the hands of sin. Lines are drawn where the boundaries begin. 10,000 broken by the madness within. Broken. One more. So I mean, One More is, I mean, just like the lyrics from Easy to Fall, it feels like poetry. It's compelling. You think about it. It's one of the Journey albums where you listen to the songs and you're sitting there trying to figure out, like, what does this mean? What is this song about? And I think that it's effective. It works so well for a band at this stage in their career. You have basically, especially a band that has seen the success that Journey has seen, because the bands that aren't as huge, they still have kind of the creative freedom to just do what they want. But when you are a successful band like Journey, you've had monumental hits like Don't Stop Believing. When you make new music, you kind of have two options. You either just go for it and do something wild and creative, and you don't really focus on it being commercial and whatever, or you just try to replicate what made you famous. And the Journey has done both. They have some music that tries to replicate older music, and they have done more creative endeavors. This is one of those creative endeavors. It's by far, I think, their most creative album. And I love that they do that here. I love that they just go for it. They just decide, you know what, we're just going to come together. We're just going to make music. We're just going to make what we want to make. And you have the songs like When You Love a Woman that are just perfectly positioned for the radio. But then you have all these wonderful, creative, incredible, compelling tracks that really just make the listener sit down and think. As a hardcore fan of this band, that kind of music is the most rewarding for me, because it's the music that I think about more. And I think that's probably why Trial by Fire is my favorite Journey album. It's very fun to listen to, and it's very intriguing. I'm excited for Freedom, their upcoming album, because we've gotten so many different sounds from the 4 released tracks, soon to be 5 released tracks, because we've gotten so much variety in the music so far, and in the length of the album too is very similar to Trial by Fire. So I'm hoping, I don't expect Journey to go like full on Trial by Fire 2 here with Freedom, but I'm hoping that the band is kind of flexing their creative chops and they're trying some different sounds and some different things, because it just works so well here. And today I read a full review of Freedom on melodicrock.com, and the reviewer, Andrew, actually does compare Freedom to Trial by Fire, which is very exciting for me, because I mean, Trial by Fire is just incredible. And yes, it's bittersweet because we know that it's the last album with Steve Perry, and you can't argue that Steve Perry was a major contributor to the band's success. And while a lot of people think that Journey without Steve Perry is not Journey, obviously, as we've seen in this series, Journey existed before Steve Perry was in the band as well. So, I mean, it's still Journey. It's just different. And I'm fine with that. I love the work that Steve Algieri did. I love the work that Arnell does. I don't have a problem with the band changing singers, because things happen. And so Trial by Fire is like a perfect finale to this lineup and of Journey. I'm so glad that they actually got back together and they did this album, because it's phenomenal. They really knock it out of the park here. And just being able to hear this band again come together with this amazing lineup that produced Escape and Frontiers, It's two of the greatest classic rock albums of all time. To see them come together one final time and put out this incredible creative powerhouse of epic music, beautiful lyrics, compelling lyrics. It's incredible. I mean, it's just incredible. The band is really just firing on all cylinders here. They're really just pushing themselves over the limit. And, you know, it is sad that Steve Perry leaves after this, but it's just a perfect way to end that era of the band, I think. I mean, this album, it really means a lot to me on a personal level. This album has gotten me through some pretty hard times in my life. And even now, sitting down and listening to this album from front to back, it really affects me. I mean, it's just that powerful. It's a fundamentally powerful album. And if you get anything from this YouTube channel or from this History of Journey series, it's that you need to listen to Trial by Fire. And you need to just have an open mind. No, you're not going to get Don't Stop Believing. You're not going to get Stone in Love. You're not going to get that arena rock stuff. But you're going to get a band that is just creating good music and with incredible musicianship. And they're just doing what they do, and they're not really worried about all that commercial stuff. And it's amazing to see. Absolutely amazing to see. So what do you guys think of Trial by Fire? Some people hate this album, and some people love this album like I do. Some people, it's just, you know, it's a meh. It's forgettable. So what do you think of Trial by Fire? How does it land in your ranking of all the Journey albums? Let me know in the comments. This album is 26 years old now. This was 1996. And like I said, this was the final album with Steve Perry. And what a way to go out. I mean, honestly, what a way to go out. So yeah, leave me a comment with your guys' thoughts on Trial by Fire. Definitely, if you like the video, hit that like button. And definitely subscribe to the channel. I'm trying really hard to build up my subscriber count so I can reach more people. That's the goal here, is I want to reach as many people as possible so that we can create an incredible community of music lovers where we can just have fun talking about music. We don't have to worry about all the negative, toxic crap on the internet. We can just have fun, and if we have disagreements, we have disagreements. We don't have, you know, we can be nice about it and be professional about it. That's the whole thing that I'm trying to build here, because bands like Journey, Styx, Queen, The Who, they have these rich back catalogs and all this. A lot of these bands, of course, always have drama and all this stuff too, but they have this incredible layered music that is so varied over the years, and so everyone's going to have different thoughts, different opinions, and I love that. That's what makes this so much fun. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you're interested in being a part of this. I'm absolutely floored with all the support the channel has gotten so far. The Don't Give Up on Us video crossed 1,000 views, which is just mind-blowing to me. You know, I deal with a lot of anxiety in my life, and I was really hesitant to even start this channel, but I decided that, you know what, I love talking about music, and I love so many different bands, so much music out there that I love. I just want to talk about it, so I'm going to come out here and I'm just going to talk about it, do a camera, and hope that someone listens. And well, people are listening. I'm very happy about that. So, like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, and I will see you guys at the next video, where we will be covering the next part of our history series. We'll be covering the Steve Algieri era, and then the next video will be a review of Journey's next single, United We Stand. So I will see you guys at the next video.